The most significant XRP Ripple video ever made is this one. Finally, the long-running conflict between the SEC and Ripple is coming to a finish in our favor. This goes beyond rumors and leaks. This information has already been verified. This is the moment that all XRP holders have been anticipating. According to cryptocurrency analysts, the price of XRP Ripple coin may soon surpass $600. Quite awesome, isn't it? I promise that this video will astound you. Let's get right to the point without further ado. Disclaimer. As Ripple and the SEC seem to be nearing a settlement in their long-running legal dispute, the cryptocurrency community is aflutter. A settlement may be on the horizon as both parties just submitted a united motion to halt their continuing appellate proceedings. This action goes beyond a simple procedural change. It's clear that Ripple and the SEC have reached a settlement agreement in principle, subject to the SEC's formal approval. Both parties have significantly changed their tone with their combined filing. One of the most well-followed court battles in the history of cryptocurrency regulation has been going on between Ripple and the SEC for years. The case has influenced the industry's perspective on enforcement measures, token classification, and pressure-induced innovation. They are now requesting that the court stop the case in order to finalize agreements that could end the entire ordeal, not to postpone justice. As disclosed by a legal source, a court file, and a crypto Barbie. In order to save court resources and prevent needless legal expenses, the motion asks for a stay of both the appeal and the cross-appeal. The parties have promised to transparency, with the SEC promising to submit a status update within 60 days. At this point, no additional briefs, including the Ripple's response that was initially due on April 16th, will be filed, if the pause is approved by the court. This guarantees that the public and the courts are kept informed about the future even during this uncertain time. Influencers and analysts in the cryptocurrency space have already begun to comment. To complete the deal, the SEC and Ripple jointly submit a motion to halt appeals. Aminix's tweet, "Be ready," encapsulated the sense of urgency that many members of the XRP community are currently experiencing. Jack the Rippler, another well-known speaker, pointed out that the settlement is pending commission approval, raising the possibility that internal SEC politics could be the last obstacle before this arrangement is formally announced. Possibly the most audacious opinion was expressed by Random Crypto Pal, who stated XRP could be the next Bitcoin, implying that if the regulatory cloud lifts, XRP may finally realize its long-held promise. In retrospect, the SEC filed its appeal on October 3rd, and a week later, Ripple filed its cross-appeal in response. Months of legal wrangling began on January 15th, when the SEC filed its opening brief. However, both sides are now taking a step back and trying to settle their issues once and for all, rather than getting ready for the next round of legal battles. There may be more to this development than the conclusion of a lawsuit. It might mark the start of a new era for the whole cryptocurrency sector. If the settlement is accepted, it will establish a standard for how regulators handle digital assets and might pave the way for XRP to be adopted by additional institutions. For developers, investors, and exchanges that have been functioning in an atmosphere of fear and uncertainty for far too long, it would also offer much-needed clarity. The battle that Ripple is having with the SEC has come to symbolize a larger conflict between innovation and regulation. There is at last a feeling that compromise is achievable with this move. In addition to relieving XRP of its legal burden, a settlement might provide authorities with a guide for dealing with cryptocurrency companies in the future. The countdown has started. The dispute may be resolved without more litigation if the SEC accepts the conditions of the settlement. That would be a historic result in and of itself. However, what transpires later will have the greatest influence. Once hampered by regulatory uncertainty, XRP may once again dominate the market. One thing is certain, regardless of whether it turns out to be the next Bitcoin as some have suggested. A court win that could change the course of cryptocurrency in the US and elsewhere is now closer than ever for Ripple. Crazy, huh? In fact, Ripple and the SEC may be shaking hands after years of legal turmoil. This is where things become even more intriguing though. Since a court ruling like this doesn't simply end a matter, it has the potential to boost XRP's price. What sort of growth then are we discussing? Let's just say that you will be astounded by some of the predictions made by experts. With a tweet that read, "And if you ask the hardcore XRP crowd, that truth is just now starting to shine." XRP Dragon didn't mince words. Steph made a big statement that echoed the mounting excitement. XRP is on the verge of blowing up, but the actual heat. The price targets are the source of that. Crypto V asserted with confidence that $8 is still the target due to panic selling. But XRP Chancellor shocked everyone by saying that analyst and entrepreneur Patrick Bet-David thinks XRP might reach $1,000 per coin in the near future. According to reports, even Binance believes that XRP might go over $600 in 2025. You're not alone if you think that's ridiculous. However, the belief is genuine and rapidly growing. An Atomic Wallet tweet that sparked controversy is adding gasoline to this fire. It might take more than $1,000 in XRP to get wealthy. They used the example of purchasing XRP at $2 and rode it to $10 to demonstrate this. Yes, it is a 5x jump. However, a $1,000 investment would only generate a $4,000 profit for a total of $5,000. It serves as a sobering reminder that even with spectacular wins, tiny wagers rarely result in life-altering money. You would need to own 100,000 tokens in order to become a millionaire with just $10 worth of XRP. Today, that amounts to a $200,000 investment. The community had a lot to say, of course. Some claimed that Atomic Wallet had stifled the excitement, cast doubt on their intentions, and even raised outdated security issues. Others had more sober responses, arguing that the true discussion should be about being early strategic positioning, long-term accumulation, and the long game rather than being ostentatious. Go a step further now. According to crypto-charged Matthew Brennan, XRP might hit $100 or perhaps $1,000 in the upcoming 10 years. If it materializes, a person who discreetly purchased $1,000 worth of XRP in 2024 may see a return of between $200,000 and $2 million. That may sound crazy, but that's just the way cryptocurrency works. First disbelief, then luck. One thing is certain, regardless of whether you consider XRP to be a future standard for international payments, a sleeping giant that is finally waking up, or just another coin in the race, the neighborhood isn't giving up. XRP has always been the way, as one user stated. There is no denying the truth. Let's change topics now and discuss something just as fascinating: Ripple's recent collaborations. Because Ripple has been covertly negotiating agreements that have the potential to transform the global banking system, while everyone else has been preoccupied with the lawsuit and price projections. This is not only optimistic, it's an indication that Ripple is considering the long term. They're working on something really big behind the scenes, and I promise you won't believe what's about to happen. Therefore, even if the SEC and Ripple's legal battle has received a lot of attention, a more subdued revolution that highlights XRP's expanding influence in international finance has been developing. The story is evolving. Battles over regulations are no longer the only issue. It's about adoption in the real world. The evidence for XRP's mainstreaming is rapidly mounting, as John Squire tweeted. The filing of a new bill in New York that would permit the state government to take cryptocurrencies, including, as payment, is one of the most talked about recent occurrences. This is not merely a symbolic action. It is an important step in the process of integrating cryptocurrency into the public financial system. Mass adoption is accelerated once governments start to acknowledge digital assets. It conveys a message. These assets are no longer considered fringe. They are assimilating